Every crime leaves a trail of evidence. Every criminal leaves a trace. This is Felonies Uncovered. Some mysteries disappear with time. Others become legends.
In November of 1987, something impossible happened on Chicago television. Millions of viewers were watching their regular programming when their screens suddenly changed. During a WGN-TV sports segment, the broadcast signal was interrupted. For a few seconds, viewers saw something they had never seen before. A person wearing a strange Max Headroom mask appeared on screen. The figure stood in front of a moving background of metal panels, creating a scene that looked like it came from another world. The interruption lasted only moments before WGN engineers regained control of the signal. At first, many viewers believed it was just a technical problem, a glitch, a mistake. But what Chicago had witnessed was the beginning of one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in television history. Because later that same night, it happened again. This time, the target was WTTW during an episode of Doctor Who. But this interruption was different. It wasn't a brief signal error. It was a carefully planned takeover that lasted nearly 90 seconds. The masked figure returned. The voice was distorted. The message was chaotic. And millions of viewers watched in confusion as someone hijacked a major television broadcast and disappeared into the night. Nearly 40 years later, one question remains unanswered. Who was behind the mask? The second interruption was unlike anything television audiences had ever experienced. This time, the person behind the mask had a message. The voice was distorted and difficult to understand. The image was unstable. The entire broadcast felt unnatural, almost like a transmission from another world. The masked figure moved around in front of the camera, making strange comments and referencing local television personalities, advertisements, and pop culture. To viewers at home, it was confusing, bizarre, and almost impossible to explain. At one point, the figure held up a can of Pepsi and mocked the image of Max Headroom, a character originally created as a futuristic television personality. The performance became even stranger as another person appeared to hit the masked figure with a fly swatter. Then, without warning, the broadcast ended. The entire incident lasted about 90 seconds, but those 90 seconds were enough to create a mystery that would last for decades. What made the event so shocking wasn't just the strange behavior of the person on screen. It was the fact that someone had managed to break through a major television broadcast system. In 1987, television stations were powerful institutions. Their signals traveled through complex networks of transmitters and microwave links. They were designed to send information to millions of homes. They were not designed for someone to take control, but someone had found a way in. And that raised a terrifying question. If one person could interrupt a major television station, what other weaknesses existed inside the systems people trusted every day? To understand how the Max Headroom broadcast happened, you have to understand the technology of the time. In 1987, television was not delivered through the internet. There were no streaming platforms. Instead, television stations relied on analog broadcasting. The video and audio traveled through a network of transmitters and microwave relay systems before reaching viewers at home. The person behind the Max Headroom intrusion did not need to break into the television station itself. They didn't walk into WTTW. They didn't access the station's control room. Instead, investigators believe the attacker found a weakness in the signal path. By transmitting a stronger signal on the same frequency, the hijacker was able to overpower the legitimate broadcast and temporarily replace it with their own message. It was not computer hacking. It was something much older. It was signal engineering. The equipment required was not something an average person could buy and use easily. The attacker needed knowledge of broadcast frequencies, microwave transmission, and the exact timing required to interrupt a live signal. One mistake could have exposed them. One wrong frequency could have failed completely, but whoever was behind the mask understood the technology. They knew where to strike, and they knew they only needed a few minutes to create television history. The irony was that Chicago had one of the most powerful broadcast infrastructures in the country. Signals were sent from massive towers, including the transmitter systems located high above the city. But the person behind the mask did not need to overpower those towers directly. They only needed to find the right point in the system where a smaller signal could create a much larger disruption. It was a battle between a giant broadcasting network and one unknown person with enough technical knowledge to exploit a hidden weakness. And somehow, for 90 seconds, the unknown hacker won. Chicago was home to some of the most powerful broadcast technology in America. The signals reaching millions of homes came from massive transmission systems built to cover enormous distances. Towering above the city was the Sears Tower, one of the most recognizable structures in the world. Its height and technology represented the power of modern communication, but the Max Headroom Incident revealed something unexpected. Even the most powerful systems could have weaknesses. The person behind the mask was not competing with the full power of a broadcast tower. They were not trying to overpower a massive transmitter directly. Instead, investigators believe the attacker targeted a vulnerable point before the signal reached its final destination. A smaller, carefully placed transmission could interfere with the official broadcast if it was sent at the right frequency and at the right moment. That was what made the attack so remarkable. It wasn't about having the biggest equipment. It was about understanding the system better than the people protecting it. The hacker had turned a complicated broadcast network into a puzzle, and they found the missing piece. In the world of technology, size does not always determine power. A massive system can still be defeated by someone who understands its design. That night in Chicago became a perfect example of engineering versus infrastructure. A major television network backed by millions of dollars of equipment against one unknown person with a mask, a camera, and enough technical knowledge to interrupt the airwaves. For 90 seconds, the impossible happened. A stranger reached millions of homes, then disappeared, leaving behind only a recording, a mystery, and one of the most famous unanswered questions in television history. Who was the person behind the Max Headroom mask? The moment the broadcast ended, the investigation began. The Federal Communications Commission and the FBI were called in to find out who had taken control of 2 Chicago television stations. Investigators knew this was not a random accident. The first interruption on WGN-TV was strange, but the second attack on WTTW proved something much more serious. Someone had planned this. Someone had the technical knowledge to locate a weakness in the broadcast system, and someone had enough confidence to perform the stunt twice. Investigators began examining transmission records, studying the footage, and searching for anyone with the skills needed to pull off the attack. But the investigation quickly ran into a problem. There was almost no physical evidence. No equipment was recovered. No one came forward. No reliable witness could identify the person behind the mask. The video itself became the biggest piece of evidence. Investigators studied every detail, hoping the strange performance would reveal a clue. The references, the voice, the location, the technology, everything was analyzed, but the person behind the mask had carefully hidden their identity. As time passed, the case grew colder. The FBI and FCC eventually ended their active search without identifying a suspect. The Max Headroom hijacker had managed something extremely rare. They committed one of the most public technical crimes in American television history and left almost no trace behind. But while investigators couldn't identify the person, the broadcast itself revealed something important. Whoever created it was not just someone looking for attention. They understood television. They understood technology. And they understood exactly how to create a moment that people would remember for decades. For decades, the Max Headroom incident remained frozen in time. The only evidence was a damaged recording, a strange performance, and the memories of viewers who witnessed it. But then the internet changed everything. A new generation of investigators began examining the case from their computers. Online communities collected old recordings, compared different versions of the broadcast, and studied every frame, searching for details that previous investigators may have missed. Modern restoration technology has also opened new possibilities. Using advanced audio and video enhancement tools, researchers have attempted to clean up the distorted broadcast, isolate sounds, and examine details hidden inside the original footage. The goal is simple. Find a clue, a voice, a background detail, a mistake that could reveal the identity of the person behind the mask. One of the most discussed theories online involves individuals sometimes referred to as Eric and K-Man. Supporters of this theory believe technical knowledge, possible connections, and details from the broadcast point toward specific suspects. But speculation is not proof. Despite decades of investigation, no suspect has ever been officially charged, and with every passing year, solving the case becomes more difficult. Evidence disappears. Technology changes. Memories fade. The Max Headroom Incident now exists somewhere between a crime, a technological mystery, and an internet legend. Modern tools may help explain how it happened, but they still cannot answer the question that has remained for nearly 40 years. Who was behind the mask? And will the truth ever come from an investigation, or only from a confession?
Tonight, we uncovered the 1987 Max Headroom broadcast hijacking from the signal intrusion and failed investigation to the unanswered questions that still fascinate the world today. This has been Felonies Uncovered. Until next time, stay curious, and keep looking beneath the surface.